Hi, my name is Colin SkipperWing Bird, and welcome to a special subset of SkipperWing Draws a Thing, process videos for the Crimson Fly animated comic strip. Today's strip, issue 3, strip number 39. Just a word of forewarning, at the end of this video, we're going to do something special, so please stick around. Back on hand, I posted some preliminary work of this particular strip on social media, and there was a lot of discussion sparked around process, specifically around timing and the choreography of animating a fight sequence. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's start with the fight sequence, because that's the easiest one to lead into the other one. When animating a fight sequence, I like to think of it as a dance of sorts, a choreography, or a play. Sort of like in swing dancing, where there's an active player and a reactive player, so there is in fighting as well. You can't punch somebody while somebody's punching you. I mean, you could try, but you're both going to hurt each other. It's better to react and then counterattack than simply going on the offensive and hoping that you outlast your opponent. At least that's a personal philosophy. That may not be true. And so it goes in my animation. The active player, the old man with the stick, he attacks, and so to avoid getting hurt, the Crimson Flyer reacts by dodging, or at the end of the video, snapping his weapon in half. So that creates my poses. When one person's attacking, the other person is reacting. They're thinking, they're trying to figure out a way around their opponent. And admittedly, it's not a foolproof system. There is a little bit of critical thinking involved. For example, those fight sequences you see where a character simply attacks until you find out that their attacks haven't done anything. The first time you see that, that's kind of impressive. Almost every other time after that, it's kind of boring and derivative. And it's boring to see one person attack with no change in how they're attacking or in escalation, and there's only so far you can escalate it, and the best way to de-escalate something is to reverse it. So it goes. Fighting, attacking, reacting, and that's how I plot out my fight sequences. As for timing, that's a little bit more straightforward, and I don't think that my explanation is going to be quite as helpful, because it's more of a gut feeling. It's more of something that I've acquired through practice. I figure out my timing based on the amount of poses that I do in my keyboards. When I storyboard out a sequence, I usually draw out all my poses, one from after the other, and then after that, I go back and I put everything on 3s, and then from there, I put everything on 2s or 1s to figure out the timing. And it's a system that works for me, but I have to admit it's not exactly cost effective, because as a storyboard artist, you're not supposed to be putting in the key poses for the animators. You're supposed to put in the necessary poses to convey the story. The key animator, they'll put in the key poses and then pass off to in-betweeners and so on and so forth. So in doing all my key poses while I'm doing my storyboards, I'm actually doing somebody else's job on top of my own. Which works when I'm the only person working. After all, you want to make the next person's job easier. But not really the best thing for working in a production team. And so when I start out, everything is on 3s. And that's mostly because that's the biggest sort of concession I can make between putting everything on 4s and getting the basic poses, and putting everything on 2s and essentially animating. And sometimes I put everything on 4s and then go from 2s to 1s after that. And while I'm on that note, I should probably also talk about working on 2s versus 1s. 2s result in less work. They also result in an emphasis on posing rather than on fluidity of animation. So the poses stand out a lot better than if they were on 1s. However, if there's too much space between poses, then things can look choppy, and it doesn't really flow as well. If you put everything on 1s, it smooths out really well, but that's a lot of work. And I only have a week to do these. Also, if you put everything on 1s and you're not consistent, then it'll look very, very squiggly. So today we're going to do something slightly different. I'm going to do a shout out. Howard Wimhurst is a 2D animator who's pretty freaking awesome. The things he does with physical movement, as far as fighting and running and all that parkour stuff, are literally out of this world. To say nothing of his camera work, which even I can't imitate. The best thing is, though, he even does teaching work through his YouTube tutorials and the content on his site, animationguild.com, which even includes work files for people to study if that's your sort of thing. Which is all to say that if you like my stuff, I highly recommend you give his stuff a go as well. There will be links in both the annotations and descriptions. Check him out. But don't just take my word for it. Here's an excerpt from one of his videos on animating a fight scene.
Hello guys, so we're back with another fight scene today, a little demonstration that I'm going to do showing my creative process when doing a fight. In particular, I want to work on this scene which I've been planning out, and it's going to end with a grapple throw to the ground, and if it's anything like I planned it, it will look quite cool. Yeah, I've got a lot of work to do on this scene still, but it's very, very fun, so hopefully it will also be fun to watch.
What you want to